Today's topic is innovation. Today, we're going to talk about how innovators can break into the federal market. And I just want to set the stage for a second. 99% of my training is pure, my live sessions are pure training, right? It's about here's what you should do and here's how you do it and tactical next steps. Today, it's going to be a much higher level, introducing the whole idea of innovation within the federal market, right? And so there's innovation. What I'm going to talk about is a different pool of money, basically, from when you think about contracting. When I say contracting or government contracting, I mean you're going after an RFP that's going to drop somewhere and you're going to respond with a proposal or a bid. But when I talk about innovation, I'm talking about this pool of money the government sets aside, huge billions of dollars set aside for innovation. In particular, they're trying to attract companies from outside the government in and to have them bring some of their innovation in. And so when I talk about that innovation dollars, what I want to share today is just where can you go to learn more about innovation opportunities within the federal government, what kind of spend is going on out there, and how maybe you can pursue those innovation dollars. So that's what we're going to cover today as we dive into today's topic, because today, again, is all about innovation within the federal market. Technology changes happen rapidly, and government agencies, they recognize that, right? And they recognize this need for innovators to support the needs of their airmen, guardmen, soldiers, agents in the field, nurses and doctors supporting veterans or in HHS, for example. They need you to come in and support those needs, and they need you to be able to innovate at the speed of relevancy. And so this program that they have, this approach to innovation, they keep getting better and better at it. But the idea is they're thinking a lot more first to market compared to typical contracting is thinking a lot more risk avoidance. In innovation, it's less about risk avoidance and it's more about problem solving. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. My goal is to show you about not so much how to get in the door, but what doors are out there that you could go in and could go knock on and get in. I'll talk about a process for getting in the door later, but today's training is less about getting in and where you can go and all the many different agencies that relate to innovation. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I teach tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. Same thing goes for innovation, which I'm going to talk to you about. It's a really mature process. Before we get started, do me a favor, help others in the chat know who you are, help buyers know who you are. Yesterday, I think in our session yesterday, we had a couple of government buyers who were in the chat and in our training. So let people know who you are by putting your company name and your core competency into the chat. Use 2 or 3 words, by the way, to describe your core competency. Don't write a ton, just a couple of key words that really make it easy for us to remember. I occasionally like to look over to chat and see it. So right here, I see Rob Brady, right? The first one that's right in my screen. But I like, Rob, how it says, we're focused on Spectrum and CETA IT support. Okay, that starts, if I see Rob coming back over and over again, and I see this Spectrum and CETA IT support, I'm like, okay, what the heck is that? Let me go figure it out. Right below him is Dave Waltz, right? So he's a small business professional within the Navy. He might be tracking that going, oh, maybe I'll call Rob. Make sure, by the way, you go look at Dave's thing because he's always saying what he's looking for. All right, finally, I wanted to say thank you to the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. We're not funded by the federal government. We're not funded by large primes. We're self-funded. We're funded by sustaining members like you and me, and we make this training possible for other small businesses throughout the entire country. And so I just want to say thank you on their behalf. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen as we go forward. I did want to put a caveat here as I go forward. My expertise is getting in the door, right? I have a lot of government experience. I spent 20 years as a small business owner. I certainly know all aspects of running a small business and succeeding as a small business. Innovation is an arm that I have a general understanding about. When I talk to you, you want to go somewhere else and talk to somebody else about diving in. I'm not really going to be the person who's going to help you be an innovator. If you want to get in the door, that's me. And so part of what I'm going to show you is with each one of these entities I'm showing you today, they all have points of contact who want to hear from you, who want to guide you. Same way Dave Waltz wants to help you within his organization. and fitting their needs. Each one of these entities, like AFF Works, for example, or a CIBR shop, they have program managers, and these people really want to talk with you and to be able to answer your questions. So once you've done your research, you can talk to them. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to rock and roll in. I'm not going to be able to see the chat through the rest of this, but I will come back and look at it all afterwards. So I think my screen's sharing. Just get my water because I'm going to talk fire hose pace. And remember, this session today is about an overview. So I'm trying to give you an overview. So the first place I just want to start here is the main CIBR page, right? It's the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Program. And basically, this is the government's way of spending money with small innovative firms to be able to address those problems I talked about. I'm not going to talk a lot more about innovation. I really just want to keep pointing you to different places. And we'll write a blog, by the way, afterwards that has a lot of these links that I'm showing. You can see I got a lot of tabs open. I'm going to try to drive through them. I'll share those links in a blog later so that you can go get access to them. But this first one is the main one for the government for the CIBR program, right? It's the great stepping off point if you haven't done anything with innovation or understood how the government works with innovative firms, or if you've got innovative products or ideas. And the government goes across all aspects, right? You'll see me showing you today that they're looking at artificial intelligence. They're looking at drone technology, all these different hardware or software solutions, anything that can help them accelerate beyond where they're at. So anyways, so just start here. This is the first place you get started. And I got a lot of tabs to show, so I don't want to dig too far into this. But some of the things I did want to show you from the CIBR's main page is just some award data and past performance. And so let me go to the second tab. This is still on that same site, but I wanted to show you just how much they're spending on innovation. So actually, the first thing I'll do is I'll just go to 2022. And if I go to 2022, you can see that down here, they've got the award obligation amount, how much money did they spend out there, and you can see it kind of going across the agencies. But the biggest thing to just track, right? $2 billion on the DoD side, $1.2 billion on HHS, right? This is solidly in defense, healthcare, and then energy is the next one, 400 million here, 358 million. And so you can see who's doing innovation. To me, by the way, this is a huge flag that if I'm an innovative firm, I'm going to figure out how I can start in these first three, because there's a lot more room. Clearly, you can see by the number of awards. Right here, there was 3,000 awards, and then it drops pretty drastically coming down. And I'll talk a minute about awards as we go along. But so you can just see the spend in there, right? It's a significant amount. And for most of us small businesses, it's not like we're looking for a ton out there to have success. This is the next one that I wanted to bring you to. I have no idea why there's not a 21 annual report. There should be, but on their website, this is a report, but it's 111 pages telling you about a lot of different things, the performance of the CIBR program, where that money went, what they were doing. And I just want to come down and show you a couple of things. And by the way, if you haven't been here with me before, I go right to 12:30 and I stop by then, so I don't go late. And so you can see how many tabs I got open. This is why I'll speak really fast. And my goal is to just show you this and get you interested. So you go, oh, let me go check that out. Let me go check that out. Oh, I hadn't heard of that one. Okay, so here, the reason I like this report is it begins to give me data about civilian and defense agencies and how they're using the program. When I go into the civilian agencies right here, I can go and see who's pursuing small businesses through this CIBR program and how they're spending the money. The other thing that's cool is they'll tell you about what awards were made, right? How they were doing it. Here's a proposal selection rate. And this one I thought, let me see if I can get down there. This one I thought was pretty cool because when you get down here, you can start seeing which agencies are getting, what percentage. So if you look here, for example, this is phase one. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But basically, phase one's where you start. It's 50 to like 250K to get your idea rolling. Generally, it's just a white paper. And then CIBR phase two is where you're doing a prototype, and that's up into the like 1.2 million and lower. But the point I wanted to show is in the beginning, EPA has just got this huge acceptance rate based on the number of people it's doing. Basically, 1 out of every 2 people who submit a phase one proposal getting accepted into the SBIR program over there, which is great. And you can see it as it comes down. Still, though, when you look at DoD being 20%, to me, that's good odds, 1 out of every 5. And if you actually take the time to, talk to people who are downrange about what you're doing before you ever submit a proposal, then the chances of you being selected are huge. And then SBIR Phase 2, this is a big deal that you can see as they move forward. The government really does want to work with you. They really are looking for innovators. And so they're trying to do a ton of Phase 1s to see what ideas even hold water on paper, if that makes sense. And then as you move into Phase 2 and they want you to do prototypes, this is where it really starts going to town, right? Department of Transportation and DoD are just right up there with 3 out of 4 SBIR 1 awardees going into Phase 2, right? There's some Phase 2s that just start right at Phase 2, but most everybody goes Phase 1. Anyways, coming back here, just to get you back to this page, if you're an innovative firm, if you're a firm doing innovation, looking to do hardware and software innovation, I was dealing with people with machine learning or computer assisted, I don't know if it's computer assisted learning or design or something, but these kind of things, this is everything the government's looking for. I'll say this probably a little later, but what the government is looking for as they move forward is a lot of innovation in this country happens in the commercial world because of commercially driven needs, like 12-year-olds who want TikTok or Instagram or whatever, right? A lot of innovation that happens is being driven by the commercial side or the commercial needs of this country. And what the government is trying to do through SBIR and through these defense work, AFF work type programs is they're trying to get innovators to come in and innovate from the needs of the government, federal agencies, downrange soldiers, et cetera. So here's and here I'm going to go a little faster on this one. This is defense work. You can pop in here. All of these next few that I'm going to show you are variations of SBIR type programs, right? SBIR is an official program. And then there's a lot of these different other programs like NAVX, AFF Work, SoftWorks, and defense work, which are trying to work with, these folks are trying to work with people downrange and help them navigate ideas from, let's say I was a soldier, right? I was in the Rangers. And if I had an idea in the woods about, hey, I need this innovative thing, I have no idea how to do it. But if we just had a scope that looked around a corner or something, right? I'd get shot less. Well, how do you move that forward? How do you find an innovator that does that? How do you move the need from the very farthest person or the person with the closest to the need? How do you bring that to the innovators and small businesses like yours? Well, these AFF work and defense work type organizations, they're not just designed to reach out to small businesses and find us, but they're also designed to shepherd ideas through the kind of complex procurement process internal, so that internal users don't have to go through a lot of bureaucracy to get innovation ideas out there and tested. So in here, you can find a lot of stuff, but right here, the part I like is you can look at innovation collaboration. I'm talking about that, but also technology transfer. You want to go check out this term, technology transfer, or CRADA, and some of these other terms. But basically, there's innovation that we do on the outside that we can bring in, but there's innovation the government does inside in their own labs for their own needs, whatever, that sometimes they're willing to transfer those rights out, the licenses, whatever. You have to figure out the details, and I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert there. But this idea of taking what they've already done and bringing it out for commercial use. And that's important for them, that American funded innovation doesn't just stop and stay in a lab. It comes out, if it can, safely come out into the commercial world. So take a look at that if that's something that you're interested in doing. So then just a couple of tabs I want to go through that pretty quickly that are all kind of similar, but this is Special Operations Command, or SoftWorks, and this is innovation unique to their stuff. One of the things I just wanted to point out that I thought was pretty cool, and of course my page just went away, is this guy, SoftWorks Tech Tuesday, right? Every Tuesday they're doing these events, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock East Coast time. And you can get in there and begin to learn about them. One thing about innovation is these guys all talk to each other, right? Whoever's in charge of SoftWorks, she's talking to the person in charge of AFF Works, for example. They all are a community within the federal government, certainly in DoD. And so beginning to get in here and learning information from whoever's in there, they allow you to come in and bring your technologies and your ideas in. But it's also one of the first steps to just meeting somebody, is going to these meetings. I used to say success, 90% of success is just showing up. And here's an example of something you can do. That's actually how I got started with NAVX, right? Naval X, but NAVX, or Naval X here. They they started here in DC, and I'm here in DC. My company was, and so as they were getting started, I was down there over and over at their events. In fact, one of my very first blogs that I put out, or podcasts that I put out, was an episode that I recorded with them down there. So it's pretty exciting. And these people, again, are all willing to talk with industry, whether you're already in the federal market, or whether you're outside the federal market trying to come in. AFF Works is arguably one of the biggest DoD innovation centers out there. What they do is just absolutely amazing. And so I want you to dig into this, but I just wanted to point out a couple of their key programs. These four, programs is what I'm calling them. I can't remember if they call it something different. But AF Ventures, right? This one here, this is one that I was just mentioning earlier. It's this idea of funding ideas, kind of being a VC or a venture capitalist, funding ideas that are federal government and DoD driven ideas, not commercially driven ideas. I wish my car could have Bluetooth plugged in. Well, there's needs that we have that are unique to soldiers or people patrolling the border or USDA food inspectors, whatever, right? There's all these unique needs within the government. And so in the Air Force, in particular, they have their own needs. And Ventures here is designed to try to bring that innovation onto the defense-driven needs. Spark, the way I link Spark, and you can go in and look at it, but basically they're trying to spark innovators within Air Force. So the Guardians, Space Force, et cetera, and the airmen, getting them to be able to be innovative, to think innovative. How can they drive innovative ideas? They work with the Air Force Academy, for example, trying to help the cadets there learn about innovation within the Air Force and how they should be thinking innovatively as they come into the workforce in Air Force proper. Prime, I keep forgetting what Prime is, so you got to go back and look at that. Prime is it's dual use. I can't remember exactly what it means, but it's this idea of having dual use technology that could be used both for the government and commercial. And it's kind of what I was talking about a little bit with technology transfer. Again, I'm not an innovative expert here. Somebody else will be that. But from a high level, this is this ability to have dual use technologies. So technology that can be used within USDA for food inspections and then maybe used outside. And maybe USDA had sponsored the creation of that. And then space work, I'll talk about in a second. So NAVX, again, it's all about naval innovation. But one of the things I liked about this, it started with just one small office. I think Hondo Gertz, actually, David, you got to tell me what role he's in now because I'm embarrassed to say I forgot. But Hondo Gertz was in charge of acquisition basically in the Navy when this was coming around, and they were all, a lot of defense people were saying, we've got to push innovation. And so they did, but it grew really fast as well, which I thought was super impressive because it's one thing for a guy like Hondo Gertz to have the idea and to say, go do it. It's another for the team to execute it, and they did. So NAVX, same thing. You can go around, innovative discussions. You see these pictures of people talking about it, right? But the tech bridges is the part I wanted to point out because this one is super impressive and it's local, as local as it can be to many of you. So you don't have to come all the way to Washington, D.C. as an example. But one of the biggest missions or roles or responsibilities that tech bridges have is this communication between industry and the government, so and academic world as well, trying to bring these three worlds together in the service of the Navy and the Navy's needs. So like I mentioned, if somebody on a ship somewhere has an idea, how do you bring that idea forward and begin to have it explored? Is this a real opportunity? If it is, how do you get funding for it? The people with the ideas rarely know how to get funding or even that they have to get funding, right? They just know they want it and it would help. And then you also have the same thing with a lot of you who might be, like this guy wearing VR headset or drone technology. How do you get it in? I know if I could show my drone, it could show how it could protect Navy ships or something. So NAVX and the tech bridges, these folks, part of their role is to help bridge that communication across all the stakeholders relating to innovation that could help the Navy. Same thing for the Army as you move forward. There was one thing. So this is Army SIBR and SITR page, right? You can find this on most agencies that are participating. And again, if you go back to the first tab, they'll tell you all the agencies that are participating, and many of them are. But one of the things I like down here is because of two things that the Army is talking about. First off, here's the phases on the innovation, especially on the SBIR, right? The innovation happens in phase one where they say, you got an idea, we'll write it down. And so that's 50 to 100 grand or 250 grand or something. but it generally starts with just writing it out, a concept of operations, or tell us what the idea is on paper. Phase 2, you can see it right here, right? Then it's prototype. And that one's a fairly easy one to get into if you've got a good idea and people, like it and want to use it. You can get into that prototype so you can prove out your drone or whatever. Phase 3 is the harder one. That's the one where you need to learn about it. It's good money in there to invest, and you can read a lot of stories about companies that have had success in innovation. But the idea of phase 3 is now you're going out and you're finding basically a customer for that. And the CIBR folks, you and that customer will come together and work to figure out where the funding is coming from. But that's where you begin to do the selling. The other thing down here, you can see this going across the technology ecosystems, right? It's not just hardware or, hey, I need new cannons on my boat or whatever you put on a boat, right? But in here, it's got cyber. I was just reading something about DOD and a lot of folks in the government, they're pushing on this whole idea of creating a cyber force, almost like the Army, Navy, Air Force cyber force, because it is such a big deal. But a lot of innovation going around cyber. How do we protect ourselves? Same thing with artificial intelligence, right? And you can see some of these others, but this is big, right? I've got a lot of people doing artificial intelligence, machine learning type solutioning. I got a person who's in our community. She beat out large primes in the VA with her innovation around AI ML solutions. And if she came over here and began talking to these folks like Army CIBR office, she might begin to find an audience, and you should do the same thing if you're in that space. Okay, let me pause 1 second because I need water. The one thing I wanted to mention with this slide here is that we teach the 7-step process for success in the federal government, right? How to make sales. And the way you make sales is what you can see here. When you're an innovative firm or you're trying to go down the innovative track, it's the same process, the exact same process, right? The CIBR program has those 3 phases, but the sales process is the exact same. You need to research where you're trying to go. Hey, I'm going to look in SoftWorks because I have special operation command experience or whatever, right? You need to research the agency you're trying to go into. Targeting is finding those CIBR related folks. I would find folks who have gone through previous phases, other businesses, so you can learn from them, reach out to them. And that's what outreach is, right? Picking up the phone and calling them. When you do the outreach and you find and build these relationships, both with government, the buyer side, the innovation side, et cetera, and teaming partners or potential just other companies, you're going to hear about opportunities, or you can shape opportunities. I have friends that have gone through the CIBR program who helped write the initial idea, right? And they've talked with a potential customer within DOD somewhere, and then they've come back and started the process. And having those relationships allows you to explore those opportunities, which then lead to phase 1, right? Right. That's a proposal, writing that proposal to start to go after phase 1. So just keep that in mind, right? It might seem like there's a lot in there, but the process is really straightforward, just 7 steps. Okay, I got just a couple of minutes left. I just want to show you, here's Space Work, right? They've got the same thing as all these other ones you've seen. Just like the Air Force, they've got Venture, Spark, Prime, et cetera. But with them, they're focused on innovation that is space related. How are they going to lead in space, et cetera? And so you can come down and explore what they've got and how to get in there. Many of these places, by the way, have newsletters and ways to sign up and follow them. And almost every one of them are on LinkedIn. So, an example is if I go to NAVX, let me see if they got it at the bottom really quick. If I go to NAVX right there, I think is LinkedIn. And if I come in here and I'm trying to meet people, there's 21 people, right? So I can begin to connect with these people, reach out. First thing I would do is follow them and talk with them. But here's, Tech Bridge Director, et cetera. I get notices right now all the time from many of these people because I'm following them and I'm hearing about what's going on. Okay, and so this one actually came from Crane, somebody in Crane, Matt Burkett. He's here on Thursday as my guest. He was telling me about this one and how these guys have funding, I think like 35 million, and they're looking for firms out there that can come in and help drive it forward. So I've been talking about CIBR programs and the SCTR, et cetera. Well, there's a lot of these different innovation elements or arms within the government. And this is why I want to point out just these next couple of slides, is because they're not all under an X program or CIBR. Sometimes they just sit out there a little differently, and you want to start digging into it. If you've got a particular need that aligns to like USDA or food and something service, nutrition, right? If you align to that, then you want to go in and see what's their innovation like in that department. Here's another one that's a similar kind of thing with DIU. And I actually can't remember if DIU got pushed under the Air Force or not. So I got to look at that. But these guys have their own, and they have a lot of information about what they've been doing. I was talking about here, like how they work with commercial tech companies who are out. A lot of information about how do I do my job. And then right here, you can see their team. And if you go in there, there's like 20 people. These are people you can follow, you can learn from. You can be innovative coming in, but you just got to do the targeting, identify the people, and then begin to do outreach. Here's the overall Department of Defense's Cyber and Center Innovation Portal. So it's kind of a stepping off point to everything else. This is a great one. I'll include it in the blog. And let me just make sure. Okay, so this last one is something I'm not showing you, but I want you to take a look at it tomorrow. This thing is phenomenal. It's 219 pages. And the reason I like it, it's Air Force's innovation handbook for itself. It's teaching its airmen and guardians how to be innovative, how to drive it forward. And so in here, you're able to see, let me just come down right here as an example. So if I come down here, right, it talks about the cyber program. How do you leverage topics? How do you move forward? How does it help me or my unit? Understanding how this stuff works with the actual people you're going to work with, right, within an agency, enables you to write much better proposals and to work better with the government on that sense. So a lot of stuff. I know I'm going at a fire hose pace. I did want to say again, if you want a list of all those pages I showed you, happy to share them, but I'm going to put them on our website as a blog, and we can write a blog. That way, just if you ever want them, just go to www.govconchamber.com and you'll find them in there. Because I know people watch the replay and they'll come back a year later and ask me. We'll put it up there so you have access to it. Do me a favor, if you found value to today's training, consider becoming a GovCon Chamber sustaining member today. Help others out there in the industry and outside the industry benefit from your support. And if your company is struggling with getting into federal agencies, starting and building relationships, consider our Business Development Accelerator Workshop. It's a 90-day program that gets you in the door. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want to learn more. By the way, don't reach out to me on that program unless you've watched like 5 or 10 of my videos, at least 5 or 10 of my trainings, so you know who we are and what we kind of recommend. Last thing is just remember, government contracting, including innovation, is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.